In today's video, we need to talk about Liverpool, who are set to win the Premier League on Sunday if they draw to Tottenham, who will very much be resting ahead of their important Europa League semi-final. So basically, this time next week, Liverpool will, probably be Premier League champions, which sucks. But I've prepared for this. I've known it's coming for about 3 months. But I want to talk about Liverpool's title win because I feel like at the start of the season, I don't think anyone really predicted Liverpool to win the league. Maybe a couple of Liverpool fans, but other than that, I think everyone put City or Arsenal because Jurgen Klopp had left. He was one of the best managers of all time. Liverpool did very well last season, but then the cracks started to show at the end of the season. They dropped off and they didn't really do anything in the summer window. So you think new manager, first season's not really had much in the summer window because Chiesa doesn't count as a signing with how little he was used. And Arne Slot's going to go and win the league. And yes, Arsenal have dropped off. Yes, Man City had fallen off like crazy. But I don't think Liverpool, I don't think you can discredit Liverpool's title win by saying it's because City are crap and Arsenal are crap. When I think the Premier League is the best it's ever been, but City falling off a bit and Arsenal having injury crisis. I think this is, in terms of the level of quality throughout the league, this arguably is the best the Premier League's been. And I don't think Liverpool are complete. We talk about Arsenal not being complete in injuries and City not being complete. I think Liverpool need a left back. I think they need a striker. I think they're low on depth. And I think the fatigue is starting to show this back end of the season when they've dropped off. But Liverpool went 26 games unbeaten this season. They've only lost 2 games in the league. If they win the remaining games, they'll finish on 93 points, which is higher than what Arsenal has ever recorded, even in the Invincibles. Against, Forest at the very best, Villa looked great, Newcastle that looked great, Bournemouth that have been incredible, Fulham that have been incredible this season. Man United and Spurs, when they normally have a bad season, would be 7th, 8th in the league. They are now 14th and 15th, but they're still in Europa League semi-finals, which I think shows the quality of the Premier League this season. So I want to talk about Arne Slot and what he's done and how he's surprised me. But I feel like as much as I'd love to be like Liverpool, the luckiest Premier League winners ever, they've so lucky, the COVID win and this, and they win the easiest leagues, and the league has fallen off. As much as I'd love to say things to discredit Liverpool's title win, I feel like we're just lying. I feel like we're lying when we try and discredit it. Gary Neville predicted Liverpool to finish outside the top 4. They have surprised us. Arne Slot has surprised us, and yeah, you just sometimes have to give credit where credit is due, because if we live bitter, it's just not a nice way to live. As much as, I am a bit bitter, I am a bit jealous. You can't live bitter and jealous about it. I think you just got to give people credit where it's due. So let's talk about what Arne Slot said, because this is sort of what inspired this video. Arne Slot reckons the Premier League is better than ever because of the depth of talent in the smaller clubs. The league is better than it ever was. Even Pep said there'll be no team, as long as he lives, that gets more than 100 points and wins the league 4 in a row. So many teams have so many more good players. All clubs, even some who are fighting against relegation, have some players who can play for City, Arsenal, for us, for Chelsea, and those types of team. The reason why teams you might expect to have more points don't have them is because the league has become stronger. That is probably why it's such a compliment for us that we have those points at the moment. And I think for the most part, he's right. Of course, Arsenal have been affected by injuries, City with Rodri's injury. The Liverpool have also suffered some injuries, but I think Arsenal have had it a little bit worse. I think the reason Arsenal and City's drop-off was bigger than people expected, Arsenal often winning and drawing games. They don't really lose Arsenal, but drawing games is those fine margins where Arsenal would normally win the game, because they don't have, outside of Saka, an attacker of the quality of like a Salah. They've not got those points. And when the Premier League's fine margins, when you've got the injuries and those little setbacks, the big differences are shown. And I think you look at Mbeumo at Brentford, unbelievable player, starts for pretty much any team in the league. You look at Mateus Cunha, starts, hopefully coming to Manchester United, starts for most teams in the league. Delap is a quality player at Ipswich. Dibbling is more about potential. It's at Southampton. There are so many quality players low down in the Premier League. Palace have known for having Eze and Wharton, and Mateta looks good, and Lacroix looks good, and Gay is good. You look at the quality of like a Bournemouth, Hoyson, Kirkes, Semenyo, Cliver, all players that are being linked with potential moves. I think Spurs have some quality players, and look where they are in the league. I think Burville is an excellent talent. I think that, Romero and Van der Ven are very good defenders. Manchester United have Bruno Fernandes, arguably one of the best midfielders in the league. Newcastle United, where people predicted them to finish, 10th this season? I think I did predict them 5th. Tonali, Bruno Guimaraes, they have fantastic players. The level of quality, if you look at almost any team in the Premier League, there's a player that you can go. Even Man United have been crap, you go Bruno Fernandes. Even Tottenham, you can say, look, there's a player in Lucas Bergvall. You can go to almost any team in the Premier League and go, there's a player of quality there. So let's talk about Liverpool's title race. And here are my notes. Liverpool went 26 games unbeaten in the league, something that Pep's never managed at City. And if they win all of their seasons, they'll finish on 93 points. Arsenal's Invincibles, 90 points. Arsenal last season, when it was their best ever season, 91 points. To finish on 93 points, I know that the top teams have dropped off, but when Bournemouth are the best they've been, Villa, Forest are the best they've been, Fulham, when all these teams are the best they've been, if you look at the race for Europe, you look at 12th to 7th, how close it is, it's pretty good, especially with Wolves really improving under new manager, Palace picking up form. Only 2 losses all season, and that was to 1 of Forest and 2 of Fulham that were in very good form. And I think you'd known you won the league by then and dropped off. Most fans predicted Liverpool third. I predicted Liverpool third. I think most people did after City and Arsenal. Some people like Gary Neville predicted them lower, and they're going to win the league. They've got more points than United and Spurs combined. Shocking statistic, but I feel like everyone wants to crown this as sort of a down year for the Premier League. And I think, the title race has been crap. The title race has been absolutely crap. No one's been in it. We've known Liverpool are winning for a while. It's not gone to the final day like last year. But other than the title race being crap, the race for Europe is one of the most exciting it's been. I think the fact that the promoters have gone straight back down, relegated again, despite the money that someone like Ipswich spent, just shows the quality in the league. The Wolves, West Ham spent all that money, and West Ham on near bottom. Everton have got better lately. Everton and West Ham and Wolves could have maybe got relegated. They would have been the relegated sides had the promoted teams not gone back down. It definitely shows the quality. Liverpool are about to win the title in, for me, the most competitive season we've seen for the mid-table / clubs competing for Europe. Not at the top, but in the mid-table section. And I think Arsenal City have definitely dropped off because they're poor and there's injuries. But I do think there's points that they wouldn't have dropped last season that they may have dropped this season because of how much stronger Fulham, Bournemouth, Forest, Villa, Newcastle are this season. If you don't bring your A game or take your chances, you get screwed. And Arsenal have been wasteful this season. They can batter Real Madrid 3-0. They can look unbelievable in the Champions League because Arsenal are still a very good side, still an unbelievable side with unbelievable quality. But Liverpool brought their A game more than Arsenal in the Premier League. Liverpool have been better than them in the league this season, despite Arsenal doing this in the Champions League. But it shows the quality of the league. Even Palace and Wolves have hit form. Look at Bournemouth, Fulham, Villa, Newcastle, Forest. They're having some of the best ever seasons. Brighton, arguably have dropped off, but they spent a lot of money. West Ham spent a lot of money. The money being spent in the Premier League is also ridiculous. But Man United and Spurs being 14th, 15th, still in Europa League semi-finals. Man United beating Lyon, Spurs beating Frankfurt, and deservedly winning those games. People call Man United versus Lyon lucky, but we should have been about 4-0 up when we kept missing sitters and then bottled it and let it back into the game, and then we had that crazy extra time. But it says everything. Liverpool are winning a league with only 2 losses with this level of competition. And I think while they weren't amazing versus Leicester and haven't been amazing recently, I think they just bored. It's done. Do you know what I mean? When it's done, there's that. I feel like there's not that edge where they're getting competitive. And I think while a lot has gone Liverpool's way this season, but we can't let City and Arsenal's drop off say, oh, this was the easiest win ever. Liverpool have been gifted the title, because to beat Forest hadn't done it this season. Fulham hadn't done it this season. But to beat Villa, really difficult. To beat Newcastle, really difficult. Arsenal, still a difficult game. City, to beat them in the manner they did, absolutely all over them. And I know they haven't been great, but you look at the quality of those sides. Bournemouth, they beat them. Brentford's still a good side. And they went and won it. They went and won a lot of those games. And I think you have to be on your A game. There's no easy games. Not even Leicester. Leicester gave you a game. Even Southampton were 2-1 up against you at one point. I think you won 3-2. They went ahead. It's not as easy as people think. I don't think Southampton are as bad as people think, but they're so bad because of the quality of the league. I think they've got good players, Southampton. I actually do like a lot of Southampton's players. No, only about 4 to be fair. But what Arne Slot has done, I think, is pretty crazy. He took over a team that finished third and faded at the end of last season. Didn't get most of the first choice targets. He wanted Superman, wanted Gordon, didn't get them. Only got Chiesa, who probably didn't want. And he never got that DM, and everyone had a hissy fit. And he adapted Gravenberch, who wasn't used much under Klopp, but started to shine towards the end this time last year, towards the end of Klopp's tenure, into one of the best DMs in the league. I think up until about February, Gravenberch was in my team this season DM. I think he's dropped off a bit since then, but I think it's exhaustion. And my biggest criticism of Slot is use Endo a bit more. use Harvey Elliott a bit more, because I think the Slot in the first half of the season was making so many good adaptations at halftime and subs, and he would change his tactics at halftime in so many games, and Liverpool would go from behind and win the games, and a lot of it was just Salah's quality. But I think that's the one criticism I have of Slot. But what he done in his first season, when no one really predicted him to win, is pretty crazy. The way he's adapted Gravenberch, I think Gakpo has been really good, other than since he's come back from injury, he's clearly not fit. But 2 months ago, what the season Gakpo was having and how he was playing left wing was good. Diaz started well. Salah, he's almost got the best out of Salah. This is arguably Salah's best ever season. Liverpool are now set to win the league in its first season, and nobody really predicted that. Even most Liverpool fans said third. I think that's a massive overachievement, and you have to give Slot credit. I think he's the first Dutch manager to win the Premier League as well. Interesting fact. One of the few managers to do it in his first season. And it's a bit scary as a rival fan because they're equaling our 20 titles, but they could, look, I think retaining the title is a huge challenge next season, but they're going to have money to spend. He's going to have his players in, and surely he only gets better from here. And the Premier League's only going to get better. And when you support Man United and you know everyone else is going to get better, it's a bit worrying when we know that we're broke, but hopefully we get Cunha. But what I think Liverpool's potential could be scary. With 4 to 5 new signings coming this summer, Liverpool can go up another level. If they retain the title next year, Slot's legacy just starts. You know, as a rival fan, if they reach 21 titles next year, Fergie cannot be it. We cannot do that to Fergie. Fergie needs to see Man United win the 21st title and be the first team to do that. But that would scare me. Liverpool reaching 20 titles hurts, but 21 would. Especially if they did it 2 seasons in a row. But Slot could. He's going to get signings. You know, Arsenal and City have made a lot of excuses to justify Liverpool winning the league. But next season, the talking starts. Arsenal are going to bring in people next season. Arsenal probably won't have the injuries they had next season. So I expect you to win the league, Arsenal, with the talk that you've given. But if Liverpool win it again, you have to then say, okay, this isn't just fluke. And it's not fluke. You can't win the Premier League off fluke. It's easier to win the Champions League off fluke, Real Madrid, in the past than it is to win the Premier League. The Premier League, I don't think you can fluke. A couple of competitions, yes, but not this. You know, it's not like it's not fluke. It is deserved. I don't like to say that. And yes, City and Arsenal dropped off, but I don't think it invalidates Liverpool's win. You know, it's not Liverpool's problem. City have had injuries and Arsenal have had injuries and they haven't been as good. You know, it's not. And maybe Liverpool have had a bit of luck there, but you have to take into account the fact that Nunes has been poor, Jota's been inconsistent. This Liverpool squad is far from complete. They need a left back, they need a striker. They never replaced Matip and Thiago, which they left. They need probably another midfielder for depth. Arne Slot wanted a winger. He didn't want Chiesa. Trent's going to now go, so you're going to need a right back next summer. There's a lot to do. Liverpool beat Real Madrid and Leverkusen in the group stage, smashed them. Liverpool they almost knocked out PSG had they maybe been more clinical. You're the best, you know, PSG outplayed you in the first leg, you outplayed them in the second leg, but they won on penalties. Arsenal smashed PSG in the group, who are seen as the best team in the world. Villa almost did it to PSG. They beat them at home, Villa. You know, this PSG side that's incredible. You know, the fact that Villa gave them a tough game and Arsenal smashed them in the group stage, it shows the quality of the league. When Arsenal weren't at their best then, Villa aren't actually, they're probably at their best despite recent loss. The PL season is brutal. And Liverpool, I think, just handled it better than Man City this season, than Arsenal this season. Maybe they had the mentality there. Maybe they didn't have the pressure of Arsenal City because everyone expected Arsenal City to win. I think they handled it better. You know, I think the domination in Europe from clubs like Spurs and United shows that quality. I also think players like McAllister probably deserve more credit. I think he's been unbelievable this season. You know, Gravenberch, how he's developed. I think Szoboszlai dropped off a bit recently, but there was a period where he was playing quite well. Salah being consistent, unbelievable season. Diaz has had really good moments this season. Gakpo was really good in these last 2 months. He's sort of been injured and not been the same when he's come back. But Liverpool have been very good and Slot's got the most out of players. And I look at Liverpool and what they might do. They've been linked to Kirkers and Huijsen recently. Striker could be Akite. They might go for Delap, João Pedro, Julian Alvarez, Isak, all linked to them. You know, they seem, you know, left-sided defence and a striker seem to be what Liverpool are focusing on. But they could get a winger if Jota and Nunes leaves. I think Chiesa could go. There was rumours of Elliott going, but I don't think there was any truth in that. Salah and Van Dijk now staying. I think Liverpool are going to get a Trent replacement. They're going to get a left-sided defender. They're going to get a striker, maybe another midfielder, maybe another winger, because you almost got that last season. You know, and Liverpool's transfers, they normally seem to work out well. They're not like Man United where half their signings are flops. They normally seem to work out well. So yeah, just to talk about it, are we lying about Liverpool's title win? Are we say, you know, when we say it's lucky and it's the easiest Premier League season ever, I feel like it is a bit of a lie because I think this is a really tough Premier League season despite Arsenal and City's drop off. You know, I feel like Liverpool have a new coach that's still adapting, that's still got a squad in transition, and I think Liverpool were the best team in the league this season, despite them not being good maybe this last month or two. I say not good, not at their best. I feel like we can't use this recency of the last month or two for Liverpool, where they haven't been as good, to say worst winners ever, when before that they were 26 matches unbeaten and they did look, sadly, very, very good. Let me know your thoughts down below. Thank you for watching. Bye.